The Allroad. It used to be an Audi A6 that looked a little bit too much like a Subaru. Now it's an Audi A4 that looks like an Audi A4, just taller. Let's drive this smallest, tallest Audi wagon and check the tech. Now, an Allroad is an Allroad and not a wagon because it's got some extra ground clearance and it's got some stainless steel guards underneath the thing. So when you go driving around the Grand Tetons and decide, no, I'll leave the Jeep at home, this will come back more or less in one piece. And you can easily spot an Allroad 1,000 yards away because it has this kind of J.C. Whitney-esque body cladding. Luckily, you can get that painted. More on that later. Now, the first thing that makes me grin when I get inside an Audi is that I think it's the most CNET-looking cockpit of a car in its direct competitive set. You got this burnished aluminum, kind of low gloss, but very precise looking, and a functional yet comfortable cabin. It's not too Baroque, I'm looking at you, Mercedes, and it's not too humorless. I'm looking at you, BMW, right in the middle. The main display is an interesting point of contention on this car. It's squarish and smallish. Much bigger you'd find in a Cadillac or a Mopar product. Much wider you'd find in a BMW. But Audi hangs on in what is a relatively older interface now, and it still does the job well. It's got some quirks, notably the four corners of the screen mapped to these four buttons. I've never really gotten used to that. And the knob goes the wrong way. You turn counterclockwise to go down a list. That strikes me as odd, maybe not you. It's a connected system. That means you can use Google search to find where you want to go, and you can use Google Earth as your view. Instead of these kind of simplistic 3D buildings, look at that. Here comes 3D satellite imagery. And beyond Google Earth, you can even get down to a street view level. Take a little tour of a neighborhood you haven't been to before. Might decide not to go there. It's powered by a built-in internet connection in the car. That SIM card right there is just for the car. Your phone doesn't need to do anything to bring in this data I'm showing you. That data connection is free for 6 months. Then it's going to cost you $30 a month from a T-Mobile partnership that Audi has. It's not real cheap, is it? All the modern media is here, including my not-so-favorite SD card slots, 2 of them, to add insult to injury. And I'm not crazy about how they do portables. This is, ouch, this Audi interface over here in the glove box. That's not convenient. That's Antarctica. This, of course, is a traditional iPhone connector. You iPhone 5 folks have got to put the adapter on here. Not sure how well it works yet. And you can put other pigtails on here, but obviously one at a time. What I would do, keep your iPhone in your pocket, buy a cheap little Nano on eBay, and leave it plugged in there. The key technology that answers all of that, of course, is Bluetooth streaming, which you've got on this car, along with Bluetooth hands-free and very good phone book handling as well. The parking tech on this car consists of sonar and the rear camera. Nothing tremendously sexy about it. This panoramic glass roof's a nice touch. You got a big panel over the second row and, of course, a big mover over the first. It's a 2-row car. Anything to cure the claustrophobia is good. Now, all Allroads have a 2.0 T Audi engine. In Audi lingo, the T either means turbocharger or supercharger, depending how much they want to screw with you. On this one, it means turbocharger. On other cars, it means supercharger. I give up. 2-liter, inline-4, sitting longitudinally. These cars, of course, are all quattro. It'd be kind of a joke if you had something called the Allroad that wasn't always quattro, 4-wheel drive. Now, because we've got a turbo here, it's torque-heavy. 211 horsepower, 258 foot-pounds of torque. Gets this 3,900-pound car to 60 in a respectable 6.5 seconds, while delivering 2027 EPA-rated MPG. That means an average of 23 according to the government. That means an average of 20 according to me. Now this Allroad, doesn't disappoint in the fact that it has the Audi trademarks. Precise, smooth, light on its feet, and has lots of power at initial tip-in. I feel like half the power in this car is available in the first 25% of throttle pedal, which is the perception of great power. Push it further, and it kind of flattens out a bit. You really find flat spots, or I do anyway, when you manually shift this thing by putting the lever over here on the right. Put it in drive, and it's a real poke. It hits too many top gears. Interesting note, this car is an 8-speed automatic Tiptronic. It's the only way you can get it. 7th and 8th are overdrive. I don't think I've seen that before. Usually just top gear is. So the top 2 gears are overwhelmed, if you will, by the engine's ratio. And when you need to step on it in drive, it has to climb out of 8th and 7th to get anywhere. So that's something that I think is best handled by leaving it in sport mode. I don't know how well you can see back there in the cargo bay, but it's it kind of comes to a point. It's kind of rounded in the back, and that kills a fair amount of usable cargo space, especially for square or large objects. So think of yourself buying an all-road for the clearance, the off-road ability, and for the fact that it's got a giant trunk, but is still kind of using sedan DNA in terms of what it can carry. Okay, to do an all-road CNET style, you got to order it in the Prestige trim, the top of the 3. Unfortunately, you're already staring at a $49,000 car at that point. But that does give you the nav, the Google connected services. But to continue CNET style, you're going to want to add $3,250 for the driver assistance package. That's going to get you adaptive cruise control, variable ratio smart steering, and the Audi Drive Select, which lets you choose different personalities for the car. And it's a very good system. And for $1,000 more, they will paint all this body cladding the same color as the car. Yes, please. And at this trim level, we're also talking about including the panoramic roof and basically every single thing I showed you, except now we've got a $53,000 4 Series. And that's when I'm going to go fill out the lease paperwork and not the purchase.